The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else would save it. Each one of us must take responsibility of Earth and its future.
With these words, Team Vikram would like to talk on the topic Sustainable Development Goals. First of all, let's begin with the introduction of Team Vikram.
The name Vikram appears in Hindu scriptures as an alternative name for Lord Vishnu. It is one of the names found in the Vishnu Sahasranam, the revered collection of 1008 names that extol the glory of Lord Vishnu, each representing a distinct quality of his divine nature. When breaking down the term Vikram, we can explore its deeper meaning. V signifies to work or to act, and Krams refers to a step or path. In this sense, Vikram can be interpreted as someone who is glorious or one who is wise, brave, strong, and victorious. These characteristics are often associated with divinity and supreme leadership.
In Hindu cosmology, Vikram represents the protector aspect of the Trimurti, which symbolizes the threshold aspects of creation, preservation, and destruction personified by Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiv respectively. In this tradition, Vikram is identified as Vishnu, the supreme lord of the universe, embodying the force that sustains and protects all of creation. The concept of the avatar or divine incarnation is most commonly associated with Vikram as the preserver and sustainer within the Hindu Trimurti. Vikram assumes various forms or incarnations throughout history to restore balance to the world. A famous passage from the Bhagavad Gita captures this idea.
Whenever there is a decline in righteousness and an increase in unrighteousness, he manifests himself for the protection of good, the destruction of the wicked, and the establishment of righteousness. He come into being age after age. In this context, Vikram embodies the divine principle of maintaining cosmic order, intervening when necessary to preserve balance and ensure the well being of the universe. This ongoing cycle of divine intervention highlights the compassionate and protective nature of Lord Vishnu, who is ever watchful and ready to manifest in order to safeguard his devotee and uphold dharma.
Now, we would like to introduce ourselves. Myself, Akash Jaiswal, a first semester IT student at NIT Raipur.
Myself, Alok Kumar Pandu, first semester student of IT at NIT Raipur.
Myself, Akshat Singh, first semester student of IT at NIT Raipur.
Myself, Neeti Sahu, first semester student of IT at NIT Raipur.
Myself, Anirudh Negi, first semester student of IT at NIT Raipur.
Myself, Altaf Raza, first semester student of IT at NIT Raipur. I hope you all are doing great, living good, comfortable, and fulfilling your lives. However, I may ask you to pause for a moment and imagine that we would ever work for a company that has no purpose. The involuntary response of most of the people would be no. But unfortunately, most of the companies are like that. As per the data, 70% of the people working don't like their jobs. Can we imagine this for a happy planet? Absolutely not. So, when we talk about sustainability, we need to talk in a holistic way. We are getting better than ever in the history of humans. Highly motivating, isn't it? Our remarkable progress has came up with huge consequences. Consequences for our environment, consequences for our earth, consequences for our future generation, etc. etc. Today, we stand before you not only to celebrate our collective achievements, but also to remind us our collective responsibility. I repeat, today we stand before you not only to celebrate collective achievements, but also to remind us our collective responsibility, the responsibility of sustainable development. So in 2015, top leaders of the world adopted the agenda of 2030 and its 17 SDGs, global roadmap to end poverty, tackle inequalities, and protect the planet by promoting economic growth, social well-being, while leaving no one behind.
Poverty. We are well aware of poverty, aren't we? We may frequently find someone who is suffering from poverty. Around 710 million people of the world lives in poverty. Poverty is the state when someone lacks financial resources to meet basic needs. Food, shelter, healthcare, and education are some of the important basic requirements to have a good lifestyle. Lack of employment, low wages, limited access to quality education, poor health conditions, discrimination are some of the causes of poverty. One may say, why should I care when someone else is suffering from poverty? How does it affect me? Well, caring for other benefits society as a whole. Poverty curtails productivity and economic growth. It is strongly linked to higher crime rates. Poor living condition can have worse health outcomes, thereby increasing spread of diseases. And therefore, we are also the one who are suffering. The first goal aims to eradicate every form of extreme poverty, including lack of food, clean drinking water, and sanitation. The goal has 7 targets to meet and 13 indicators to measure the progress. Since we all have been through COVID-19 pandemic, all of us have faced challenges and difficulties. Eradicating poverty has been made more difficult by the pandemic. Local and national lockdowns led to a collapse in economic activity that eliminated source of income for many. Before initiating the topic, let's have a quick activity. Let us take a moment and think about the meal we had or going to have for a day. What are the ingredients? Where are those harvested? From where are those transported to us? This activity gets us to a thought about how interconnected we are with global food systems. Around 733 million people faced hunger globally, and yet staggering one third of food produced globally is wasted. Since extreme hunger and malnutrition remains barrier to sustainable development, there is the second goal, which is zero hunger. It is about creating the world free from hunger by 2030. From the data we have, there is an alarming increase of global hunger. Since 2015, around 2 billion people in the world do not have regular access to safe, nutritious, and sufficient food. This is mainly caused by lack of income, increase in cost of living, inefficient distribution of food, extreme weather events, as we are noticing, which decreases crop yields in some areas. The goal aims to end all form of malnutrition and hunger and ensures that everyone has sufficient food throughout the year, focusing more on children as malnutrition curtails physical and mental development of children. So, as an individual, we can also contribute to the goal by reducing food wastage. We can also donate to hunger relief programs and promote nutrition education. Our collective action adds up, creating collective strength, and together we can achieve the extraordinary change. The previous two goals we discussed about health on surface level. So here the third goal of sustainable development ensures healthier lives and to promote well-being for all ages. The goal makes a bold commitment to end epidemics of AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and achieve universal health coverage. Significant portion of global population still lacks access to vital healthcare services. Around 100 million people annually are driven into extreme poverty due to high expense of health services. Poor health and well-being not only impacts individuals but also put strain on economies by reducing the productivity. It increases risk of infectious disease outbreaks. As an individual, we can educate and make our family, community members aware about health and wellness of oneself. The least we could do is to maintain ourselves. Introspecting ourselves and having appointment from specialists are much needed in today's lifestyle.
Education is the most powerful weapon which we can use to change the world. This was the quote by Nelson Mandela, which motivates us by highlighting the fact that education is not just about acquiring knowledge, but also about gaining the ability to make a positive change across the globe. So let's just imagine If everyone in this planet would be educated, how different would the earth be? By just imagining, we see positive, significant change across the globe. So here we have the fourth sustainable development goal, that is quality education. Now the question comes, why should the world care? Quality education will allow people to introspect with the environment, which help us to achieve other sustainable development goals. For instance, when people get education, they can break the cycle of poverty. The data reveals some areas of Africa faces the biggest challenges in providing school with basic facilities, resources, or amenities. Women and girls also faces difficulty with access to quality education. About 40% of the countries have not achieved gender equality in primary education. Apart from that, economic barriers, social factors, governance issues, inadequate infrastructure, and language barriers are also responsible for lack of quality education. Sustainable development goal consists of 7 targets to meet and 12 indicators to track the progress. The targets include universal access to quality education, early childhood development, technical and vocational training, gender equality, while improving school infrastructure, teaching quality, and eliminating disparities for marginalized groups. Education solely holds enough potential to achieve 17 sustainable development goals. Women and girls represent half of world's population and half of its potential. There are as many women as men. Still, nearly half of married women lack decision-making power over their will and rights. 35% of women aged 15 to 49 years have experienced violence. These acts and violence not only just harm women and girls, but also hinders their active involvement in society. It is difficult to imagine the world where nearly half of population are seen as inferior. Therefore, here is the fifth goal of sustainable development, that is gender equality, which aims to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. We all should care about gender equality as when men and women have equal rights and opportunities, economics tends to grow stronger, families become healthier, societies become safer. It also leads to better decision making. As said, we hold back half of world's potential without them. The estimation shows that with current rate, it would take 300 years to end child marriage, 286 years to remove discriminatory laws, 140 years for women to be represented equally in position of power and leadership stereotypes. Patriarchal system of society, lack of education, media representation are some common cause of gender inequality. Sustainable Development Goal 5 targets gender equality by ending discrimination, violence, and harmful practices against women and girls. It also focuses on promoting women's participation in leadership and decision making. Access to safe water, hygiene, and sanitation are the most basic requirements for health and well being of humans. Yet, millions of people in the world are lacking access to this clean water and sanitation. The sixth goal of sustainable development, which aims to ensure access to safe, potable water and sanitation for all. The demand for water has surpassed population growth, and half of the world's population is already experiencing severe water scarcity for at least a month in a year. This is projected to increase with rise of global temperature caused by climate change. While water frequently gets the spotlight, topic of sanitation deserves equal attention. Till now, billions of people lack basic sanitation services, basic hand washing facility. With proper sanitation, we can prevent the spread of diseases such as cholera, dysentery, enhance quality of life, prevent pollution of natural resources, and build resilient communities. The goal has 8 targets to meet, which basically ensures availability and management of water, improved sanitation and hygiene facilities for all, particularly for women and girls and communities.
Our everyday life depends on power and energy. Energy powers our home, provides electricity for lighting, heating, cooling, and running many appliances. This ensures that we can live comfortably and safely. Therefore, power and energy are crucial for the development of all sectors of society. Goal 7 of the Sustainable Development Goals focuses on ensuring access to clean, affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy, which is essential for developing businesses, education, healthcare, and society at large. For many decades, fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas have been major source of power. However, burning these carbon-based fuels produces large amount of greenhouse gas, which causes climate change. Today, the energy we use is the dominant contributor to climate change. accounting for 60% of the total greenhouse gas emission. Despite this, 750 million people around the world still do not have access to electricity, but one tenth of the global population. There are many ways to generate power sustainability. For instance, we can capture solar energy, wind energy, hydro energy, all of which helps to minimize carbon emission. Goal 7 aims to ensure universal access to clean energy, increase the share of renewable energy, expand infrastructure, and upgrade technology in all developing nations, particularly in less developed regions. To achieve this, we need to adopt renewable source of energy, reduce fossil fuels consumption in our vehicles, support clean energy projects, and educating others to do the same. The foundation of any prosperous society is its economic stability and opportunity. Economic growth drives innovation, improves living standard, and enhances healthcare. Yet, millions of people around the world are unemployed and working in conditions that do not provide fair wages or security in the workplace. Youth unemployment is at a high rate, and many people in developing countries work in informal economies. Sustainable Development Goal 8 plays a central role as it focuses on creating a future where economic growth is both sustainable and inclusive. The aim is also to promote employment and decent work for all. Decent work means providing opportunities for everyone to get productive work and also delivers fair economy, security in the workplace, protection for families, and prospects for personal development. The estimated goal unemployment in 2022 was 192 million. It is expected that global unemployment will decrease significantly in the upcoming years. The goal targets promoting employment for all, reducing youth unemployment, removing forced child labor, and providing safe and secure work environments. It also supports small businesses while focusing on the GDP growth of least developed countries. As responsible citizens, we can contribute in impactful ways by supporting ethical businesses and labor free practices and by choosing to purchase from local businesses. With this, economic growth would be restored in our communities and the goal would become a reality for all.
Investing in sustainable infrastructure, innovation, and industrialization is the key to build resilient societies and promote inclusive economic growth. Economic growth, social development, and climatic action depends on investment in infrastructure and technology. By 2022, 95% of the global population had mobile broadband access. Investment in research and development and mobile connectivity has increased with nearly entire global population covered by the cellular signals. Infrastructure investment in transport, energy, and information and communication technology are crucial in the achievement of countries' needs and support, alongside investment in advanced technology, low carbon solutions, and increased mobile broadband access. Sustainable industrialization drives employment, innovation, and resource efficiency. It also improves living standard and can positively impact the environment. Research and development spending increased globally. With progress, poverty reduction, access to all essential services like healthcare, adequate sanitation, and limited access to education will suffer. Reducing inequality requires empowering all people, regardless of age, gender, race, or economic status, to create a fair and inclusive world for everyone. Inequality threatens social as well as economic development, hinders poverty reduction, and harms people's self worth. Now, what type of inequalities do we need to reduce? Inequality based on income, gender, age, disability, race, and many more. These are excluding people from opportunities and breed crime, disease, and environmental damages. Some of the examples of inequality are women, children, older person, migrants, and refugees. They face discrimination and lack of access to healthcare opportunities. 1 in 6 out people globally has experienced discrimination on some of the basis. How to, Now let's talk about how to tackle discrimination. Global challenges like poverty, migration, and racism affect everyone. Solutions require universal policies that focuses on unprivileged communities. Equally can be achieved by investing in education, health, social protection, and decent jobs, and eliminating discriminatory policies by these developing countries. and they should have stronger voice in the global decisions. Sustainable cities and communities aims to make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable as urban population grow rapidly. Urban growth, as half of the population lives in cities, projected that to reach about 70% by 2050. Around 1.1 billion of the people of the country lives in slum, with 2 billion more expected over the next 30 years. Challenges faced by the cities are inequality, urban sprawl, air pollution, and limited public space. They account for 60 to 80% of the global energy and consumption and 75% of the carbon emission. Cities are also vulnerable to climate changes and natural disaster. The progress that has made since 2015 disaster risk reduction of the strategies and doubled, but only around 50% of the urban population has access to the public transport. In 2022, the solution of the sustainable practices includes affordable housing, green spaces, efficient transport, and better urban planning are key. Poorly planned urbanization leads to the slum, traffic pollution, and social unrest. Actions that are required includes individuals that can improve their communities by advocating for better urban policies, infrastructure, and public services.
The population of Earth is ever increasing, and so is the rate of consumption of natural resources. If the global population reaches 9.8 billion by 2050, as it is being predicted, the equivalent of almost three planets will be required to provide natural resources needed to sustain current lifestyle. Thus, the next goal of sustainable development, that is the 12th goal, was set to deal with this problem. The 12th goal, that is responsible consumption and production, aims at ensuring sustainable consumption and production pattern, which is a key to sustain the livelihoods of current and future generations. The main change that we need to make is to shift our energy supplies to more sustainable ones. Luckily, the trend of sustainability is on a rise, and we are seeing promising changes in industries as the amount of published sustainability has almost tripled over just a few years. Now, as mentioned earlier, the 12th goal aims at ensuring sustainable production as well as consumption. And that's where the role of us, the consumers, comes. The individuals should adopt more sustainable lifestyle, like choosing products with lower environmental impacts and reducing the carbon footprint of the day-to-day activities. Moreover, the government need to implement and enforce policies and regulations targeting and reducing waste generation and promoting practices such as reusing and recycling products. Transition to circular economy is another important aim of the 12th goal of sustainable development. Circular economy practices involves designing products for longevity, repairability, and recyclability. We individuals can also help in achieving the 12th goal of by avoiding wastage of food, which is a major problem in today's world, and reducing consumption of plastic, which is also one of the main pollutants of the ocean. This can be done through some simple practices like using a reusable bag and recycling plastic bags. On our way to technological development, we are affecting our world and nature negatively in the process. One of the major effects of it is the climate change. Climate change is dangerous not only for us, but for every living organism on this planet. With rising greenhouse gas emissions, climate change is occurring at rates much higher than anticipated. If left unchecked, climate change will cause average global temperature to increase beyond 3 degrees Celsius, and it will adversely affect every ecosystem. So, keeping this issue in mind was created the 13th goal of sustainable development, climate action. Its meaning was to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. To make this happen, the greenhouse gas emissions need to be cut by almost half by 2030, but we are drastically off track from this target. The previous decade, that is 2010 to 2019, was the warmest decade ever recorded, bringing with it massive wildfires, hurricanes, floods, and other natural disasters in several parts of the world. According to the UNFCCC, global climate finance flows reached an annual average of $803 billion. In 2019 to 2020, a 12% increase compared to prior years. However, this is still not enough to limit global warming. Moreover, the fossil fuel related flows exceeded climate financing for adaptation and mitigation in 2020. Now, it is crucial to take some major steps, such as moving towards climate resilient development while outlining a clear path to achieve net zero emissions. The world must transform its energy, industry, transport, food, agriculture, and forestry systems to ensure that we can limit global temperature rise to well below 2 degrees Celsius. In December 2015, the world took a significant first step by adopting the Kuru Agreement, in which all the countries committed to take action to address climate change. Now, it's time to raise our ambition at all levels and stand up to that commitment. Till now, all the sustainable development goals which we talked about were focused mainly on either humans or natural resources. But there's another important thing that we need to focus on, and that is the water bodies. It is important to address the oceans while we talk about sustainable development goals. And that's what the next sustainable development goal is about. The 14th goal of sustainable development, life below water, is about conserving and sustainably using oceans, seas, and marine resources. Currently, the ocean's average pH is about 8.1, which is about 30% more acidic than in pre-industrial times. More ocean acidification threatens the survival of marine life and disrupts the food web. Thus, the 14th goal aims at careful management of oceans. For this, we need to increase funding for oceans science and intensify conservation effects. We also need to control the emission of greenhouse gas, as around 23% of annual CO2 emissions generated by human activity gets absorbed by the oceans. Because of this, the ocean heat is at record levels, causing widespread marine heat waves. The 14th goal also aims at reducing the marine pollution, which is reaching extreme levels with over 70 million metric ton clogging the ocean in 2021. And it is being predicted that this figure will double or triple by 2040. Unfortunately, the current efforts to protect the ocean are not yet meeting the urgent need to safeguard this vast resource. Sustainability of oceans can be achieved only through increased international cooperation and establishment of effective and managed systems of government protected areas is also important for conservation of biodiversity in these vast ecosystems.
Forests cover 31% of our planet and serve as vital habitat for over 80% of terrestrial species. This rich biodiversity is not just a luxury, it is essential for human survival. Goal 15 talks about conserving life on land by protecting and restoring ecosystem, managing forest, combating desertification, and halting biodiversity loss. These ecosystems are essential for human survival, contributing to more than half of global GDP and encompassing cultural, spiritual, and economic values. The consequences of deforestation extend far beyond lost trees. We risk losing livelihood, increased carbon emission, and diminishing biodiversity. Forests regulate our climate and provide essential resources, and therefore lose threatens our way of life. While it's encouraging to note that the portion of forest under protection has stabilized in the recent years. A report found that 1 million species are now threatened with extinction in the next few decades. Deforestation and unsustainable farming practice contribute to the rise of zoonotic disease, such as COVID-19. This disease result in millions of deaths, particularly in low-income countries, and caused economic losses exceeding $100 billion in last 2 decades. To help, we can recycle, eat sustainable source food, including local communities and the management of forest protected areas, is essential for maintaining healthy ecosystem. The health of our planet sustains the health of humanity. Preserving nature is preserving the life itself. Let's talk about something that matters to everyone. Goal 16 of Sustainable Development Goal is about creating peaceful and fair society where everyone feels safe no matter their background, belief, or identity. Did you know that in 2022, deaths from conflict increased by over 50%, mostly because of the war in Ukraine? It's not just a number, it represents real people who are suffering. High level of armed violence are completely derailing a country's development. So what can we do? The answer is teamwork. Government, organizations, and communities need to come together to find solutions. Making sure laws are fair and protecting human rights is key. These steps are important for making the world safer. Peace is not just about stopping violence, it's the foundation for everything else. Like social and economic growth, without peace, countries fall apart and everyone suffers. Access to justice is important too, because who wants to live in a place where there is no right for all? If we don't act now, things could get worse. Violence causes deep wounds, especially for children, and unresolved conflicts can hurt communities for many generations. When government or system do not work fairly, it leads to mistrust and abuse of power. We can't let that happen. So, what's our role in all of this? We need to hold our leaders responsible, promote fairness and inclusion in your community. Every person's voice matter, and together we can create change. Let's work together to build a better, more peaceful world for everyone. Goal 17 focuses on building strong global partnership to ensure the success of sustainable development goals. The 2030 agenda asks every country to come together for common good. To make sure no one is left behind, We need strong participants between government, business, and people like us. Many developing countries are struggling with huge debts, especially after COVID-19 pandemic. With the rising cost and limited resources, they are finding it harder to make progress. Wealthier nations must step up to provide financial assistance and support to those most in need. To make real progress, developed countries must honor their commitment to provide consistent support. Only by working together we can ensure that everyone, no matter where they live, can thrive. Global challenges like poverty, inequality, and climate change affect us all, no matter where we live. If we want to solve this problem, we need to work together because when countries cooperate, the whole world benefits. Progress towards the SDGs are, has been steady, but there are still many challenges. Financial resources are scarce, and a lack of important data is slowing things down. However, on the bright side, more people have gained access to internet, and new tools like the technology bank for these developed countries are helping bridge gaps. But the digital divide still exists, and much work remains. You have a role to play. Join or create groups in which communities that focuses on sustainable development goals encourage you government to build work together with business and organization to help reach this goals. Your voice and action can make a real difference. Together, through global partnership and cooperation, we can build a more sustainable and fair world for everyone.